We wake up each morning to a world that whispers, more. More followers. More deadlines. More square footage. More to prove. It's built into our culture, this quiet assumption that more will finally be the answer. The solution to our restlessness. The cure to our discontent. But have you ever paused, truly paused, to ask yourself a question that cuts deeper than any sale, any upgrade, or any goal? What is enough? Not just financially, not just materially, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. What does enough look like in a life well lived? Today, we're not talking about deprivation. We're not promoting lack. Minimalism has never been about empty rooms or cold spaces. It's about clarity, alignment, peace. It's about redefining abundance on your terms, so you can stop chasing and start choosing. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say in a world obsessed with excess is simply this: I already have enough. I'm Evan Hart, and this is Minimalist Living Lab. Welcome to Day 4. Let's talk about the true meaning of enough. 1. The illusion of more. Let's begin with a quiet truth. A truth we rarely stop to examine. In the early 1900s, the average American home was just under 1,000 square feet. Today, it's over 2,500 and still growing. We have more bathrooms than people. We have entire rooms dedicated to things we use twice a year. And our garages? Many can't even hold a car anymore because they're filled with everything else. But pause with me for a moment. Ask yourself, are we happier now? Do we smile more? Do we breathe easier? Do we feel lighter? The honest answer, for many, is no. Because what we gained in square footage, we often lost in simplicity. What we added in possessions, we subtracted in peace. We live in an age of more. More closets. More gadgets. More subscriptions. More noise. And yet, more debt. More stress. More burnout. More disconnection. It's a paradox that's quietly unraveling our well-being. We've mistaken accumulation for progress. We've been taught to measure our lives in stuff, instead of stories, in price tags, instead of presence. And now, we are drowning in abundance that never feels fulfilling. We were sold a dream. A dream that if we worked hard enough, bought enough, achieved enough, we would finally feel whole. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that the goal was never to own the world. It was to feel at home in it. Capitalism, in its unchecked form, doesn't just sell us things. It sells us discontent. It plants this tiny, dangerous idea in our minds that happiness lives just beyond where we are. Just one promotion away. Just one renovation away. Just one better version of ourselves, thinner, richer, busier, away. So we keep chasing, running faster on a treadmill that never stops. And we call it success. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. The finish line keeps moving. Because more is a horizon that always recedes. It doesn't matter how fast you run. You'll never quite arrive. Think of it like this. Imagine standing on a beach, watching the waves roll in. Each wave promises to be the one that finally satisfies. The one that brings what you're missing. So you wade in, again and again. But no wave ever stays. And you're left soaked, searching, and strangely emptier than before. That's the illusion of more. It promises fullness, but delivers hunger. Even our language betrays us. We call it retail therapy. As if a new outfit could fix a wounded soul. We say treat yourself. But why do we need treating in the first place? Could it be that we've built a life so overwhelming, so noisy and crowded, that consumption became our coping mechanism? We scroll, we click, we buy. Not always out of need, but out of numbness. So where does this leave us? Disillusioned? Maybe. But also free. Because once you see the illusion for what it is, you're no longer its prisoner. Minimalism is not about denial. It's about discernment. About realizing that every object in your life either adds weight or gives lift. And asking, which one is it doing for me? Here's a truth that might surprise you. You don't need to chase more to live richly. In fact, the richest moments in life often come wrapped in simplicity. A conversation without phones. A dinner made from scratch. A morning where you wake without an alarm. No label. No luxury. Just presence. Because maybe enough isn't about what you possess. Maybe it's about what no longer possesses you. 2. The power of redefinition. Minimalism is often misunderstood. People hear the word and picture cold, white rooms. Empty shelves. A stark life, stripped of joy or spontaneity. But that's not minimalism. That's an aesthetic. Real minimalism, intentional living, isn't about less for the sake of less. It's about clearing the way for what matters most. It's not a life of restriction. It's a life of realignment. And that begins with a powerful inner shift. Redefining what abundance means to you. Because here's the truth. Most of us have been taught to equate abundance with excess. More shoes. More tech. More travel. More hustle. And when life gets hard, the reflex is almost always, I need more. But what if abundance had nothing to do with quantity? And everything to do with quality? What if it wasn't about how full your closet is, but how fully your heart lives? Let's break this down. Imagine two people. The first has a massive house, 3 cars, an overflowing calendar. They're always busy, always planning, always acquiring. Their life looks abundant from the outside. But inside, they're anxious, scattered, burned out. Now imagine the second person. They live in a small apartment with a tiny kitchen. But their mornings start with silence. They drink coffee slowly. They walk to work. They end their day with a book and a deep breath. They don't own much, but their life feels full, spacious, aligned, abundant in a different way. That's the power of redefinition. It shifts you from appearance to experience, from accumulating things to accumulating meaning. You start asking new questions. Not how much can I afford, but what truly adds value to my life? Not will this impress others, but will this nourish me? And that shift, however quiet, is radical. It changes your relationship with time, money, people, and even yourself. Think about this. When was the last time you bought something? And a week later, it still made you feel the way you hoped it would. The new phone becomes normal. The new shoes join the pile. The new car loses its shine. We get a quick spike of dopamine. Then it's gone. And we're left chasing the next fix. But there's another way. A slower, richer, quieter way. When you define abundance for yourself, you no longer have to chase society's version of it. Here's what redefining abundance might look like. Not needing the latest phone because the one you have works just fine. Letting go of a packed social calendar to make room for rest. Choosing depth over breadth, fewer friends, but richer connections. Spending on experiences that feed your soul, not just your Instagram feed. You stop buying to escape. You start living to engage. There's a line I love. You can't ever get enough of what you don't really need. Let that sink in. So many of us are consuming solutions to problems we don't actually have. We buy more to fix feelings of emptiness. But the emptiness wasn't from a lack of things. It was from a lack of clarity. Minimalism helps you find that clarity. Not by asking you to give everything up, but by asking you to be honest. To ask, is this thing aligned with who I'm becoming? Or is it a distraction from what I'm avoiding? That's the internal compass. That's redefining abundance. One of the most abundant people I ever met lived out of a van. He didn't have a flat-screen TV. He didn't wear designer brands. But his life was overflowing. With stories, songs, laughter, peace. He told me once, when you need less to feel whole, you begin to notice how whole you already are. That stayed with me. Because ultimately, this isn't just about our stuff. It's about our sense of self. To redefine abundance is to redefine who you are without the noise. Without the roles. Without the expectations. Just you and what truly matters. It's an invitation to stop living by default and start living by design. Minimalism gives you back the steering wheel so you can drive toward what feels right, not just what looks good. And the truth is, you've always had that power. You just needed to clear the road. 3 stories of enough. Sometimes, the most powerful truths don't come from books or philosophies, but from people. Ordinary people. People who woke up one day and said, "This isn't working. There must be another way." Let me share a few of their stories with you. The cabin in the pines. A friend of mine, James, used to live in a beautiful suburban house, 4 bedrooms, 2 cars, 3 bathrooms. He had the life most people would envy. A stable job, a retirement plan, even a home office with a leather chair. But inside, he was exhausted. He was working 60 hours a week just to maintain a life that looked good on paper. He had no time to breathe, no time to be present with his family. The house was clean, but the connection was messy. And one day, he just stopped. He sold the house. Quit the job. Bought a small 400-square-foot cabin tucked in the woods. No mortgage. No lawn service. No rush hour traffic. People thought he'd lost everything. But what he told me was this: I gained space I could breathe in. I gained mornings with my son. I gained nights where I could see the stars. I didn't shrink my life. I sharpened it. He discovered that enough wasn't measured in square feet, but in moments of stillness. Flower over finance. Then there's Leah. She worked as a senior executive in a fast-moving tech company. Her days were a blur of meetings, flights, presentations, late-night emails. On paper, she had it all: status, income, influence. But one night, after returning from a business trip, she stood in her high-rise kitchen, surrounded by designer appliances, and cried. Because despite having everything, she felt hollow. So she walked away, started over, opened a small bakery in her neighborhood. She bakes every morning at 4 a.m. Her hands are always dusted with flour. Her apron is stained. But her smile is real. She once told me, I don't make as much money, but I wake up happy. My hands smell like cinnamon. My heart feels full. I have enough. That's abundance. Not the kind you can deposit in a bank, but the kind that shows up in how you sleep at night. The one suitcase man. Another story that stayed with me is of Ben, a former advertising executive who traveled constantly. Always first class, always polished, always on. Until one day, during a delayed flight, he watched a child laugh uncontrollably at a paper airplane. And he realized he couldn't remember the last time he felt that free, that light. He went home, packed a single suitcase, and started a 1-year experiment. Could he live with only what he could carry? He never went back. He now runs a consulting business from his laptop. He owns 1 pair of jeans, 2 shirts, a notebook, and a camera. Everything he needs fits in a carry-on. And his words? I used to carry so much. Things, expectations, identities. Now I carry myself. That's enough. What these stories teach us: each of these people came from different walks of life, different incomes, different definitions of success. But they all arrived at the same realization. More didn't make them free. More made them trapped. They didn't find peace by adding. They found it by subtracting, until only the essential remained. They stopped living someone else's version of abundance and started asking the question that changes everything. What feels enough for me? And here's the beautiful truth. Enough looks different for everyone. For some, it's a simple home with a garden. For others, it's a backpack in the open road. For you, it might be a slower pace, a simpler schedule, or the courage to say no more often. The point isn't to copy their lives. It's to be inspired by their clarity. Your turn. So now I gently ask you, what is your version of enough? Not the version you've been told to want. Not the version that impresses others. The one that makes your shoulders drop. The one that feels like a deep exhale. Sometimes, redefining abundance isn't about changing your life overnight. It's about shifting how you see your life. You may already be closer to enough than you think. You just haven't given yourself permission to believe it. 4. Abundance through subtraction. When we hear the word abundance, we often think of addition. More wealth. More space. More options. More everything. It's how we've been conditioned. That abundance means accumulation. A life filled to the brim. Overflowing with choice, activity, stimulation. But what if that version of abundance isn't the only one? What if true abundance isn't found in the adding, but in the subtracting? Let me explain. Think of a sculptor standing before a block of marble. To most people, it looks solid, complete, heavy. But to the sculptor, there's a hidden form inside. A shape, a story, a truth. And so, with every careful strike of the chisel, they remove what doesn't belong. Not to create emptiness, but to reveal essence. That's what subtraction can do for your life. Most of us are carrying more than we need. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, energetically. We carry relationships that drain us, tasks that deplete us, habits that numb us. We say yes when we mean no. We hold on to just in case. We clutter our time, our homes, our minds. And we wonder why life feels heavy. But here's a truth that might surprise you. Letting go isn't a loss. It's a return. A return to clarity, to lightness, to your center. Let's reframe it. When you let go of comparison, you gain contentment. When you let go of excess, you gain freedom. When you let go of distractions, you gain depth. Subtraction doesn't make your life smaller. It makes your focus sharper. You don't lose richness. You discover what richness truly is. Take the calendar, for example. Many of us wear busyness like a badge. Every hour scheduled. Every evening filled. But have you ever had a day so spacious it felt like time itself slowed down? That's abundance. Not because it was packed, but because it was yours. You could hear your own thoughts. You could breathe without rushing. You were present. The same goes for your home. It's not about empty shelves or minimalist aesthetics. It's about walking into a room and feeling peace, not pressure. It's about knowing that everything you see serves a purpose or brings you joy, not stress. And it doesn't stop there. Subtraction applies to your inner world, too. Letting go of guilt you've carried for years. Releasing outdated identities. Unlearning beliefs that no longer serve the person you're becoming. We often hold on because we're afraid of what we'll be without these things. But maybe who you are without them is exactly who you were always meant to be. You see, we don't just declutter our homes. We declutter our expectations, our fears, our definitions of success. And in that process, we find space. Space for what really matters. Space for rest. For relationships. For realignment. There's a kind of silent abundance that emerges when you stop trying to prove, impress, or outperform. It's the abundance of not needing validation, of not competing in a race you never chose, of realizing you don't need more to be more. That's the paradox. By removing the excess, you reveal the extraordinary, the soft moments, the deep breaths, the quiet joys. That is the kind of abundance that sustains. So ask yourself, what are you holding onto that you've outgrown? What would your life look like with less, but better? What would it feel like to trade volume for value? And most importantly, what would happen if you believed you already had enough? Abundance through subtraction isn't glamorous. It doesn't always look good on Instagram. But it feels good in your bones. It's not about deprivation. It's about liberation. Because when you let go of what weighs you down, you begin to rise. 5. The practice of enough. We've talked about the illusion of more. We've redefined abundance. We've heard stories of those who chose enough over excess. And we've explored how subtraction can lead to a fuller life. But theory is one thing. Practice is where the magic happens. Because living with enough isn't just an idea. It's a practice. A gentle discipline. A daily act of courage in a world that constantly says, you need more. So how do you begin? How do you move from knowing to doing? It starts with small shifts. Simple practices that bring you back to yourself. That invite you to listen, not to the noise around you, but to the quiet truth within you. Here are 3 practices I've returned to again and again. I offer them to you not as rules, but as doorways. A. The enough list. Once a month, just once, take a quiet evening. Grab a pen, a notebook, and ask yourself, what does enough look like right now, in this season of my life? Write without editing. Write honestly. Maybe enough this month means 7 hours of sleep each night. 3 nourishing meals a day. Time to read 1 book. No new purchases unless something breaks. A weekend with no plans. Space to just be. Let it be simple. Let it be yours. Because enough isn't a fixed number. It's a felt sense. It shifts with your energy, your responsibilities, your dreams. And naming it brings clarity. Suddenly, you're not chasing vague goals. You're living by a rhythm that honors your real life. B. The pause before purchase. We live in a world of 2-day shipping, flash sales, and one-click decisions. Consumption has become reflexive. We shop to soothe, to celebrate, to escape. But here's a powerful practice. Before every purchase, pause and ask yourself 1 question. Do I already have enough? Not can I afford it? Not is it on sale? Not will this make me feel better right now? But simply, do I already have enough? If the answer is maybe, then the real answer is probably yes. This isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. That moment of pause creates space. Space for intention, for alignment, for remembering that you are not what you own. And if you do choose to buy, great. Let it be with clarity, not compulsion. See, the gratitude reframe. At the end of each day, before you close your eyes, ask yourself not what was missing, but what was already enough. Maybe it was a laugh with your child, the way sunlight hit the kitchen floor, a deep breath during a hard moment, a meal you cooked slowly, a problem you handled better than last time. These moments may seem small, but they are the heartbeat of a meaningful life. Gratitude doesn't grow from having more. It grows from noticing what's already here. And the more you practice noticing, the more abundant your life becomes without anything changing on the outside. Bonus: create a not-to-do list. We often focus on what we should do, what we need to add to our plate. But sometimes, it's more powerful to decide what you're no longer available for. What no longer fits. What no longer aligns. What you're done apologizing for. Maybe your not-to-do list looks like: I no longer say yes out of guilt. I no longer check emails after 8 p.m. I no longer chase approval. I no longer overfill my weekends. This is how we protect our enoughness, by drawing boundaries around it. Living with enough doesn't mean life becomes perfect. You'll still have moments of longing, still be tempted by the shiny, still feel the pull of more. But you'll also have something stronger, a deeper trust in yourself, a rhythm that feels grounded, a knowing that you are no longer outsourcing your worth to the outside world. You're building a life of quiet power, of chosen simplicity, of abundance redefined on your terms. So here's your invitation. Start small. Try one of these practices this week. Notice how it feels. Notice where it's hard. And notice what softens. Because every time you choose enough, you're not just simplifying your life. You're reclaiming it. 6. Closing reflections. Let's come back to that word. Enough. It's a small word. 5 letters. Soft-spoken. Easy to overlook in a world that celebrates more with such volume. But don't let its simplicity fool you. Enough is not a wall. It's not where growth ends. It's where truth begins. Enough is a doorway, a quiet threshold, a path that leads you inward, away from the noise of never enough, and into the calm of already sufficient. It's the moment you realize that you don't need another badge, another room, another purchase to validate your place in the world. You already belong. In redefining abundance, we do something radical. We take back the pen. We stop letting algorithms, advertisements, and social pressure write our story. And we begin again. This time, from within. We stop being consumers of life and start becoming creators of meaning. And it's not flashy. It doesn't trend. It rarely goes viral. But it's real. And it's freeing. True wealth, we discover, isn't about adding more. It's about needing less. Less comparison. Less distraction. Less proving. And in the space left behind, we find more life. More presence. More peace. More connection with ourselves. With others. And with the moment we're in. Because when you stop trying to own the world, you begin to feel at home in it. You start noticing the sacred in the small. The way your coffee steams in the morning light. The sound of someone you love breathing beside you. The moment your shoulders drop because you finally let yourself rest. These things can't be bought, but they can be missed. If we're always chasing something bigger, faster, louder. Sometimes, abundance looks like leaving a drawer half empty, letting a day be unscheduled, saying no without explanation, saying yes to what truly matters. And that's where minimalism meets mindfulness. Not in the absence of things, but in the presence of meaning. Minimalism isn't about deprivation. It's about revelation. It's the quiet knowing that what you don't need is just as powerful as what you do. And enough isn't the bare minimum. It's the sweet spot where your needs are met, your soul is honored, and your life has room to breathe. So as you step back into your day, carry this with you. You don't need to prove your worth through possessions. You don't need to catch up with someone else's highlight reel. You don't need to do more just to feel like you matter. You are not behind. You are not lacking. You are not broken. You are already enough. And the more you practice living like that's true, the more the world around you begins to soften. The more joy starts to feel accessible. The more your life begins to align, not with pressure, but with peace. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what was enough today? What could I release tomorrow? And what abundance already surrounds me? You might be surprised by the answer, because enough is not a finish line. It's a practice, a perspective, a powerful place to live from. Thank you for sharing this space with me today. This episode isn't about changing everything overnight. It's about remembering that you already hold the key. You've just been looking for it in all the wrong places. I'm Hart, and this is Minimalist Living Lab. You've just finished day 4, the true meaning of enough. Tomorrow, we'll explore the myth of productivity and why doing less might be the most productive choice you'll ever make. Until then, live gently, live intentionally, and above all, live like enough is already here.